What's up? 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 Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. 1 2 1 2 3 4. Who's gonna be first to do this mic check with me? What? 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 Take me with you, baby. Yeah. Take me with you, baby. Oh yeah. Got to take me by the hand. Mic check, mic check. I'm coming through. Any hum, any buzz? I might have to get me some more microphones. Cause my mic's not sounding nice. 1 2. Can you hear me, Gwen? Sound check, sound check. 1 2 1 2 3 4. Mic check. 1 2. Good evening, good evening. Can you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? I'm gonna have to sign for myself. I don't think you could hear me. Can you hear me? Can you? Can you hear me? Can you? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. What's up? What took you so long? You too short to reach the button? I try not to tell sharp people jokes, but darn it, you just make me. You make me want to leave the one I'm with, start a new relationship with you is what I do. Got a little Usher in there tonight, you know. Think about the ring and all the things that go along with to make me. Before anything came between us. Mic check. 1 2. You were like my best friend. What he said, the one I want to run and talk to when me and my girl was having problems. You used to say it'll be okay. Suggest little nice things I should do. And when I go home at night and lay my head down, all I seem to think about was you. Yeah, I'm messing around tonight. I just want to make sure I'm coming through loud and clear, loud and clear. Clear and loud, loud and clear, clear and loud. You gave me one, I hear you, and you ain't said nothing after that. Okay. Okay, a thumbs up. Slowly rising. The only thing I don't like about this is at times there are people online that I can't see. So if I don't give you, any love, if I'm not showing you any love, come on in and say hello. Let me know, because if you say something, then I get a little flash. Eventually I'm going to have to take this away from Facebook because I just don't have any control over the product that I'm producing to you guys. Okay, there you go, Sandra. What's going on, galley girl? All right. Had a senior moment. I'm just tripping, man. Today's the 23rd, so it was Tuesday. See what I'm saying? If today is the 23rd, yesterday was the 22nd, and Tuesday was the 21st. And this is what's happening. I had a senior moment where I got not my days of the week, but my days of the month mixed up. And I called a day late to wish my granddaughter a happy birthday. So, Chrissy, Big Papa loves you, baby. Happy birthday, I guess that was my senior moment 101. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of get started a little bit. Last week, everybody was on time. This week, people are kind of rolling in. But I want to go ahead and get started because I'm trying to keep my time down. I'm going to try to edit out some of the beginning when I'm doing these mic checks and I'm doing my usher and all of this other stuff that I'm doing. But in the meantime, in between time, let me just go ahead and tell you guys, let's start it the way we started. Let's do it the way we do. When we do what we do. Y'all didn't think I had forgot about the music, huh? How you think I get hyped for this? Shout out to the Soul Train dancers. They gotta be 68, 70 years old, man. So, let me shabba do a little bit. Do it good. I'm safe. I think I'm safe, you know. I've been behaving and it hurts, man. It's not what you look like when you're doing what you're doing. It's what you're doing when you're doing what you look like you're doing. Oh, what's up, Val? Express yourself. We're doing it on the moon, yo. In the jungle too. So y'all sitting over there. I don't know if y'all bouncing, but I'm dancing. Everybody on the floor. Why we used to do this with this man? So let the horn do the thing they do, y'all. As soon as I hear my horns, you know. Now, people in D.C., they do this go-go thing, and I don't know what this is. But it must be some Chuck Brown stuff. Some people have all I know is what? If it ain't the thing you want, oh, stop. So how everybody doing? How y'all week been? Sandra, you say you're safe. I guess you are. It's my favorite part. Y'all do it. Get it. Express yourself. Express yourself. Val, I'm going to tell you something you probably didn't know. My last 2 years in the Marine Corps, I was in the Marine Drum and Bugle Corps. And we were playing this, turn this down. We were playing this little hick town, Pickle Meadows, Northern California. Armed Forces Day, we playing this parade. And in this little hick town, the NCOIC was gunny eyes at the time. And my man, it seems like I knew the words and the lyrics to every song that came on the jukebox. So I started singing this crazy kind of country western song, Spiders and Snakes. And it tripped. Next thing I know, people was like clapping. I guess my voice carried. So Gunny being Gunny and would do anything for free booze, he gets up and tell the people that I'm Charlie Pride's nephew. And everybody started calling me to the stage, and I'm like, no. So I go up there, and it was like, I was like, I don't know any Charlie Price song, Gunny. He was like, just fake it. I said, So I get up there, and I tell these people, I say, my uncle has this weird contract. He's gone through negotiations now, so I can't sing any of his songs, but I'll sing a song, that I know. So I clowned around with him, but everybody was drunk as hell, so, it didn't take much to impress him. And Gunny said, well, this is going to be our thing from now on, wherever we go. I was like, oh, hell to the no. He says, yeah, learn some Charlie Pride songs. So that was that. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome you guys to the show tonight. Each week, this seems to get a little harder and a little bit more complicated. And I think it's mainly because that idiot in D.C. and his minions around the country are acting up, and they have our stress levels through the roof. Even without Black Lives Matter, 45 is forcing more and more people to pull their head out of the sand and be concerned about politics in the upcoming election. In addition to forcing small businesses, middle class and lower class people to go back to work, now he's talking about sending our children back to school. His latest Gestapo tactic has been to detain and intimidate protesters in Portland, and he's threatening to do the same thing in other parts of the country, Chicago and New York, with his version of what I call martial law. So let's talk about state sovereignty. Let's talk about the legality of 45's actions and Congress' inability to enforce the inherent checks and balances set forth in the Constitution. So first, if we look at back to work, let's call it exactly what it is. This Hitler Mussolini wannabe is willing to sacrifice any and everybody to generate any type of numbers to manufacture an exaggerated economic turnaround. In addition, he's using Black Lives Matter to try and turn law enforcement into his personal Gestapo, a police force. The problem that I have with this is these so-called federal agents or federal police aren't wearing any ID. So we have no idea who's who. With a mask on and camis, it could be anybody. It could be Bubba, it could be Staff Sergeant Eisman, or it could be just some white supremacist off the street. So I think that's the thing that we have to handle. We have to put some pressure on Congress, and now even his own people are starting to turn on him, at least in public, because hate is just starting to die out. Like it or not, small business owners and poor people don't get paid unless they go to work. These people have the highest risk of being infected because they don't have a choice. As quiet as it's kept, here in Florida, 6 that we know of. Let me preface that and give you my disclaimer. That we know of. I'm sure the numbers are much higher, but this is what actually came out in the wash. 6 Publix supermarket employees tested positive for the COVID-19 virus. Honestly, as I've said so many times before, I'm surprised the number is not exponentially higher. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is, but like state governments, some of these people are just hiding the numbers, A, because they want to work, and B, because they are Trumpsters and Trumpettes and Trumpies. But given the fact that this was not a national news story, and this administration's propensity to squash negative press, I think it's fair to conclude that many of his followers are willing to fall on their swords to make 45 look good. So if these people are barely making it, what's going to happen to the children? As they go or talk about going back to school, it creates another what I call conundrum. When poor people go to work, school serves as a 6 to 8 hour babysitter for their children. Even though we now know that kids are just as susceptible, working parents are willing to subject their children to going back to school and risking getting infected because they have no other choice. Here in Florida, just this morning on the news, we heard of a 9-year-old dying from the coronavirus. To my knowledge, that's the youngest victim thus far. To my knowledge, we don't know. When 45 started off with the narrative, sacrifices must be made in order to get the economy moving, I knew this day was coming. It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. We were all hoping for a reprise when they told us that COVID-19 and Corona should be squashed with the summer weather, but we found out that that's not the case. Knowing a little bit about viruses, we talk about a host. When somebody catches this virus, they become a host. They're hosting this virus inside of them. Due to their own DNA makeup, the virus may pass through them or the virus may start to mutate. And since we've been exposing people exponentially, this virus is mutating a whole lot faster. That's why we're starting to see different strands of this virus and not just one. In addition to that, I keep saying this. They're using these nasal swabs. You get false negatives and false positives. The problem with that is it just tells you a number, okay? Either you're positive or you're negative. But it doesn't tell you which strand. It doesn't tell you how infected you are. It doesn't tell you anything like that. It doesn't tell you about the antibodies that your body have that makes you less susceptible and asymptomatic or not get sick. These are the things that we need to know before we can move forward and talk about a vaccine that makes sense. 45 shows no concern for anyone. What boggles my mind is the number of people. Now, everybody on my page is old enough to remember Jonestown, when Jim Jones talked these people into, all of his followers, into moving from America to South America, and eventually things got bad. He convinced most to drink the Kool-Aid. So some knowingly drank this poison-laced Kool-Aid. The others were duped into drinking the Kool-Aid. To those that knew and refused, they were killed. So it just boggles my mind how some people are so gullible that they're willing to make these types of sacrifices for someone, namely someone who could give a shit about them. What angers me most is the children never have a choice. The children never have a voice. So if the parents are stuck on stupid, the children are doomed. What pisses me off even more, some of these so-called Republicans are vehemently opposed to abortion and call themselves right to life. But they're willing to sacrifice themselves, their children, and other people who are walking, breathing people, productive people, to being killed with this virus. So it just makes no logical sense. I'm just going to leave that alone. I feel like they used to have Bunk and McNulty on the wire, and one week he told McNulty, there you go again, giving a shit when it's not your chance to give a shit. He didn't say give a shit, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. When we start to talk about state sovereignty, and I call this my schoolhouse rock lesson, the founding fathers were lords in England. Most Southerners were what we call serfs. A serf is like a sharecropper, but he belongs to the land, and it was just one step removed from slavery. If the Lord sold the land or was conquered, the serfs were passed on to the new master. To make sure that these newfound landowners who were released from the paupers' prisons, these serfs in England, were brought to America to settle this new empire of Great Britain. Each local domain was guaranteed sovereignty so that they would not be treated the way they were treated over in Great Britain, in the old country. That sovereignty is the autonomy, or the free will to do as they please, as long as they didn't try to secede from the union or what have you, overthrow the government. This means that every mayor has a certain amount of sovereignty to their constituents in the municipality that they manage. Every governor has a certain amount of sovereignty, or what we call autonomy, to manage their area, the state of Kentucky, blah, 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 blah. What we saw this past week was the mayor of Atlanta and the governor of Georgia going back and forth. Why? Because the governor is one of the staunch supporters of the president, and the mayor is rolling back from phase 2 to phase 1 because Atlanta had a spike in them numbers. Each mayor should be able to do what they want to do as long as it doesn't negatively impact the state. So the conundrum with this is you're asking the mayor, you're trying to force the mayor to do something that's going to negatively impact the state, especially while you're wearing a damn mask. And this is what the whole thing was. She imposed an ordinance or law that when you came out in public, you had to be wearing a mask. So now he's rescinded because now the president is saying that, 45 got on TV and said, yeah, this shit is probably going to get worse before it gets better. But I still want you to go to work. I still want you to go to school because your life means shit to me. Go figure. The governor is obviously taking directives from 45 to jumpstart the economy at all costs. Bottom is doing what she thinks is best to decrease the infection rates. So there we have this ongoing fight. Some of you guys, I've got one Marine on here, but some of you guys have been in the military. This past week, there were 2 stories that looked fishy to me, so I posted them on my page. One was the father and the daughter. The father was like 43, and the daughter was like 2 years old. He's pushing his daughter in the buggy, and he and his daughter were ran over and killed. I thought it looked extremely strange. The other story was the federal judge who was appointed by President Obama to basically give a more, what I call, progressive voice on the bench, because there were so many right-wing judges on the bench. So somebody went to her door dressed like a UPS man, shot her husband and killed her son. Again, it looked so suspicious to me. After the fact, they said that it was this crazed attorney who basically just hated women and women's rights, etc., etc. Even that explanation, and then he supposedly committed suicide. So again, dead men tell no tales. All of this looks fishy to me. I did follow up stories just to show it. The father and daughter was supposedly killed by black guy. But I keep bringing up these clandestine acts of violence because just like we saw agitators mixing in with the protesters in looting and burning so that the protesters would be blamed, I am convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that some of the people that's coming into the neighborhood shooting people and what have you is not just Pookie and Ray Ray. Some of them are white supremacists. Some of them are maybe some disgruntled cops. There's so many possibilities. The problem is when we go into a white neighborhood, we're challenged for walking while black, jogging while black, driving while black. We're challenged to make sure that we're there for some specific reason. We need to start doing the very same thing when we see strangers come into our neighborhood. So what it brought to mind was a Marine is taught to challenge a post. When you're walking your post, and we have things called general orders, and the general order just popped into my head, and this nonsense is etched into my consciousness. But it says to walk my post in a military manner, keeping always on alert and observing everything that takes place within sight or hearing. And I think we need to start doing that when we see strange people walking into our neighborhood. We need to ask them, what are you doing here? Where do you come from? Who are you going to see, et cetera, and be ready. Be ready for whatever goes down. Because if they're there for anything other than good, you best believe they're armed. You best believe that they're going to carry out said mission. So we have to be ready to, quote unquote, defend our neighborhoods. You know, there's nothing more precious than our children. So we have to look at it that way. We have to look at it. The most sensitive area in the Marine Corps is usually the base armory. I say our children, our schools, our playgrounds should be handled the same way. Just me. So what it really does is I feel like I don't know if I'm Paul Revere or Chicken Little. I don't know if I'm sounding the alarm saying the British are coming, or if I'm just needlessly saying that the sky is falling. But I have to admit, what's happening today scares the hell out of me. It scares the hell out of me because you don't know who's who. I'm going to the mall yesterday, and I see this guy gets out of his car in this impromptu uniform. He has a white shirt on with a Vietnam cap, and then he has some made up insignia. And when I get mad, my tongue gets tired because I went back to my vehicle just in case. I said, if this fool is about to start something, somebody's going to get hurt today. And I'm not going to be the only one. And I think this is what happens. When somebody goes out with me, whether it's a girlfriend or one of my boys and what have you, they say, who are you, Tony Soprano? You always have to have your back against the wall. I always position myself so I can watch everything, avenues of approach with safe, evaluating who's safe and who poses a threat, so forth and so on. And I feel like we need to teach this in the neighborhood, especially right now. Where we're headed, the last thing I'm going to touch on is the story that's been floating around of how, if Trump is defeated, he could still seize office. He's already stolen the office. Congress has done nothing to roll back all of these things that he's doing. They're illegal. They impinge on the rights of, state sovereignty and what have you. But Congress is doing nothing. And I know they're not going to do anything because there's a majority Republicans in the Senate. So trying to impeach him would just be a waste of time. But the story went around. I'm not going to get into the story, but it is on my page, so take a look at it. But here's what concerns me. If something happens, if anything happens, how many of us are ready, willing, and able to act? And I'm not talking about anarchy or anything like that. I'm just talking about if people come into your neighborhood, if they threaten your person, you need to be able to defend yourself. I'm going to just say this, and then I'm going to get out of here. I know some of my deductions and opinions are not easy to swallow. I pride myself on not being a conspiracy theorist. I guess I'm a cynical realist or a skeptical realist. If Black lives truly matter, then we should receive the same benefit of the doubt. Whether it's when we encounter the police, when we have the misfortune to stand in front of a judge, or when we elect legislators to write policies and laws to level the playing field for us, some 157 years later, after we were given our freedom. My spirituality is strong, very strong, but I do not believe that God intended for us to have to wait on heaven to be happy. So when people say God is in control, I'm saying, but He gave you the power of choice. So you're able to choose whether you're going to walk into water or whether you're going to not stay on shore. My spirituality is very strong. If our constitutional claims are true, then we deserve the right, just like everybody else, to life, liberty, and what we decide is happiness. I'm going to wrap this up because I don't want to be on here too long. All I want to do, I want to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. I want to also tell you that I'm putting the finishes touches on a nonprofit organization that I'm forming. And as I finish up the administrative paperwork and I receive my licensure back, I'll give you details. So if you've not, the people that I sent invitations to are you guys, because you're here week in, week out, being here for me, making sure that everything is okay. I'm going to start transitioning to the other webpage, and I will let you know when. It'll probably happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but stay tuned. I will let you know. I'll send out a couple reminders. I'll send out, some daily reminders to let you know that the podcast is moving. But if you are friends with me on the other page, the ABAIGS2S, it basically stands for a Black agenda. I got something to say. So the organization is kind of centered around the things that are important to us, or I feel should be important to us based on my expertise, based on my experience, based on what I've seen happen in the world. So with that, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to remind you guys. In the meantime, go to my YouTube channel, check out my videos. If you came in late today, go to YouTube and check it out. Give me some positive feedback. Give me some positive comments. And don't forget to subscribe. It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing to subscribe. Again, I want to thank you guys for the love. I'll see you here next week, the same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. As always, imparting. I know I sound like an extremist, but these are extreme times, so that they call for extreme measures. When you see somebody coming into your neighborhood, challenge them. Say, just like a Marine, who goes there? What are you doing here? who you come in to see. Understand? And then be ready for them. I want to wish you love. I want to wish you peace. I want to tell you have a good weekend. Agrees. Don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose. And our children, our future is our purpose. Have a great weekend, people. Good night.